Angus Reid did a survey, which is fascinating actually, because the UCP sent out a news you can use today and tried to make this a good news story, which I'm going to let you decide whether it's a good news story or not, because I found the results here to be rather interesting. They did a survey to see where each of the premiers ranked as far as popularity. And of course, the number one person was the premier of Manitoba. He got 26% strongly approve, with only 12% strongly disapproving, and a total of basically a 66% approval, because if you take the strongly approve and moderately approve, that's what it came to. So 26 plus 40, so 66%. I was really interested in the strongly approve and the strongly disapprove numbers because apparently the way that the UCP put it was Danielle herself is up there at the top of one of Canada's most popular premiers. But I'm going to let, again, you decide as to whether or not you think that is actually the truth. And I'm just going to recall my chart here. And BC and Alberta and Newfoundland and Labrador all came out ranking about their premiers about the same, 46%. And Scott Moe for Saskatchewan came out at 45 with strong and moderate approval, okay? But this is where it gets really interesting because in BC, strongly approve was only 13%. Strongly disapprove was 29%. And then Alberta, Danielle Smith only got 20% strongly approve with another 26 of moderate approve, but she got 39% strongly disapprove and 11% moderately disapprove. So flip a coin as to whether or not, people approve or disapprove. And then Saskatchewan, same thing, 19% only strongly approve, 35% strongly disapprove. I think these numbers, these strongly approve and strongly disapprove numbers, are the ones we need to be paying attention to. Because if you look here, even in Ontario, only 7% strongly approve of Doug Ford, 44% strongly disapprove. What I'm looking at when I look at these numbers is I just see a country that is moving further and further, honestly, to the left, to more the liberal, socialist, less conservative values that Canadians used to hold so dear. And that's probably one of my biggest concerns when I look at these numbers and I see these approval ratings, when it looks at the strongly approve, strongly disapprove. And in Danielle's case in particular, I'd just like to bring the attention to the fact that right now there's a number of groups I know who are actively pursuing to have her removed here at the UCP AGM. Again, 1905 committee and myself are not part of that, but I do know that it exists. And the reality is, when you have a 39% strongly disapprove and 11% moderately disapprove and only 26% that moderately approve, Danielle, I'm just, when I look at these numbers, I'm like, okay, why? That's what always begs the question to me. Why do people moderately approve and moderately disapprove and strongly disapprove? So, obviously the strongly approve is easy, right? Those are the true conservatives. Let's go hard here on conservative values, conservative principles, conservative policies. Moderately approve, obviously, there's your people who are like, well, I don't think she's doing everything right, but yeah, she's doing enough to kind of, we'll give her our vote. Moderately disapprove, I honestly believe that this group here are the ones kind of that fall into the moderately approve. They're kind of like, well, if not her, who? Yeah, don't really approve, but, could be worse. It's a strongly disapprove at 39%. Obviously, we do have NDP and very liberal voters in this province. They fall into here, but I find it hard to believe that they are truly 39% of the entire population. Um, so, what group is strongly disapproving? Obviously, the NDP, the Liberal, are going to vote strongly against Danielle. But I think there are some people in here too who are truly conservative, who have basically become very disheartened with Danielle's performance. So I find these numbers fascinating, and it'd be really fun to go through each of these. Saskatchewan is another one that mirrors pretty much Danielle's, very closely. And again, Scott Moe has come out with a very conservative stance for the most part on a number of issues. And, to have only strongly approve of 19% with strongly disapprove, in his case, of 35, it begs the question, which direction are we going, Canada? Are we going further to the left into the socialist kind of policies and principles? Because it seems that way to me. So I thought this was a great thing. I really got quite the kick out of how the UCP tried to spin this. However, she's the second most popular premier. She's tied there with 3. Scott Moe is 1 point behind. And so, she kind of really, that pack is falling kind of, at the top. But, on average with, 4 of them. So, just fascinating. If you haven't had a chance to take a look at it, please do. It was the Angus Reid survey that was done, and it came out in the United Conservative Team, news for you that you could use, power your conversations yesterday. So check it out. I thought it was very interesting. All right. Please do like, please do share, click the link, send me your comments. Let me know what you think. Like, what are your thoughts? Are we, as Albertans, moving further to the left, further to the right? I mean, Alberta was calling, and we called all those people from BC and Ontario and everywhere else across Canada, and apparently they're not voting conservative. They're voting, for the other guys. So, now they're moving to this province. If you think that's the case, or if you've got a different idea, I'd love to hear from you. Cheers.